This fifth Sunday of Lent is sometimes known as the beginning of Passiontide. We are in the last 2 weeks now of our Lenten journey before we celebrate the great feast of Easter. And so in many places, the images, the crosses, the pictures will all be shrouded and veiled and hidden from sight. The church feels much more like a tomb in these last weeks of Lent. This week definitely reminds us of the tomb as we listen to the scriptures. We begin with Ezekiel's prophecy, and Ezekiel prophesies a resurrection. He talks about how God speaks to his people and says, I will call you from your tombs. You are dead in sin, but I will call you, and I will sprinkle clean water upon you, and I will give you new life. It's a great juxtaposition from where we began our Lenten journey, where Adam and Eve seal the tombs by their sin, and now the Lord is promising to raise up all who put their hope in him. In St. Paul's letter to the Romans, we hear this echoed now from the Christian perspective. We know who our resurrection is. We know that we live by the Spirit. And Paul reminds those disciples that the body is dead in sin, but the Spirit that we have been given, that is what brings us to life. So even though we are baptized and we are Christians and we are living in God's life, nevertheless our body is going to die because the body has been touched by that sin. But the Spirit in baptism has been restored and saved by the Holy Spirit. And so we have the promise of resurrection, and that is for what we hope as we journey through our life in this world. Once again, we visit St. John's Gospel, and we hear another story of the tomb. This is the third scrutiny of the elect, which means those preparing for baptism are once again called forward to be exorcised, to be prayed over, and to be blessed in the midst of the community, and to hear this gospel. It's the gospel of Lazarus, who is the good friend of Jesus and has died. And as Jesus hears of this death, we might be puzzled, why doesn't he rush off to go meet him, to go raise him from the dead, to save him before he dies? But Jesus stays a few days where he is before he heads off. And when he arrives, he finds that Lazarus has already died. And Martha and Mary are grieving, each in their own ways. And both of these women have faith in Jesus, but once again, it has to be cultivated and brought out. And so in conversation, the Lord draws them to a statement of faith. Yes, I believe that you are the one who is coming into this world. And at these statements of faith, the Lord stirs up the power of the Spirit and fulfills the prophecy of Ezekiel and calls Lazarus from the tomb. And we see the man walking out. And not only is this a fulfillment of the prophecy, but it is a foreshadowing of Jesus' own resurrection. So as we get so near the cross these days, already we are focusing on the resurrection, because a cross without the resurrection is meaningless. These days remind us that the power of the cross, the power of death, does not conquer, but rather the power of life and resurrection is what conquers and gives us hope as we journey towards Easter.